Hello and welcome. This is Power Wheel, a production of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN. TCN targets 10,000 megawatts energy wheeling capacity by reconductoring critical lines. Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, partner with TCN to actualize eligible customer to drive production. TCN in-house engineers install 60 MVA transformer at Kubwa substation in Abuja, plus an interview with the head transmission service provider, TSP for TCN, Engineer Victor Adewumi, features in this edition. Get more trending reports as you stick with us on this edition of Power Wheel. I am Chinwenwa Anyanwu. The Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, has moved the electricity transmission grid to 8,100 megawatts, but it is not stopping at that, as the company is making a strategic move of reaching 10,000 megawatts capacity this year by reconductoring some critical lines to transmit more bulk electricity to the distribution companies.
The Managing Director, CEO of TCN, Mr. Usman Gur Mohammed, made this disclosure when he met with officials of the African Development Bank, AFDB, at the TCN corporate headquarters in Abuja. Mohammed said, while the company is working on getting funding from the World Bank, AFDB, and other multilateral agencies, it is also considering self-financing for the conductors to quickly take the grid capacity to 10,000 megawatts.
We made the grid at 5,000. As at December 2017, we raised it to 7,124. At December 2018, it was 8,100 megawatts. Actually, our thinking was that we'll have raised it to over 10,000, but it was because we had a slow response from the World Bank, because we are to buy high-capacity conductors and conductors on lines where we have transformer capacity and there's no lines to take them. We're going to finance it from our own source. So that will help us to expand the grid to above 10,000 megawatts.
While this has been described by industry watchers as a plausible strategy, the TCN boss said the impact may not be felt if the discos do not pick more energy load being delivered to them by the transmission network.
So the fact that the discos are not picking loads, whatever capacity that we have from the generation and from the transmission side cannot be optimized. And that is why even in recent time we took a decision to increase even the load we supply to both Niger and Togo and Benin. But still, what we are sending to those people are very marginal, very small.
While making a presentation to the officials of the AFDB on the Northern Corridor Transmission Project, he said TCN has finished the initial paperwork with approval from the French Development Agency, AFD, to create redundancy and improve bulk power voltage quality around Kano region. He further explained the Nigerian Transmission Expansion Projects, NTEP, to be financed by AFDB, which is to put more line capacity around the Niger Delta. There will be 3 key transmission line projects in the area, including Delta to Benin transmission line.
We are building a cord line that will run from Delta to Benin for the purpose of evacuating the power that will come from that region. And also from Alauji to Onitsha. Alauji to Onitsha 330 kV line is the weakest link on the network now.
Mr. Mohammed noted that the AFDB project will also expand wheeling capacity of bulk power from Kaduna and Kano to boost power supply by discos to industries in Kano and parts of the northeast.
The same project will build the line Kaduna to Kano. Now, if you look at what the Emir of Kano is proposing for Kano, actually, if we don't construct that line, that is is the highest risk on that his plan for Kano.
Leader of the delegation and director Energy Financial Solution Department of AFDB, Mr. Wale Shonibari, said the team was at TCN to ascertain the preparation of the company to propel the execution of the AFDB-funded projects. He said,
"It's useful for us to also know the amount of preparation, because we hear about all these projects, but when we're ready to try and take the projects to the board, in terms of readiness, we find that sometimes maybe not all of the work has been done around the environmental and social impact assessments and also the land acquisition. So I just want to understand those key priorities and how much work is being done to prepare these projects."
Responding, Mr. Mohammed said TCN put a lot of work into the project in 2018, especially in getting consultants to deliver the key preparatory documents.
From April to November, we are able to submit the RAP. We are able to submit the RAP to the bank. I don't think there's any utility in West Africa that can deliver that. In fact, let me tell you, sir, some of those studies, I, as the MD, I have to go and follow the consultant and find out what they're doing. For information, even Meduguri, I had to go to follow them to ensure that they do the job diligently.
The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria has said inadequate power supply to its members is driving them out of competition as they spend about 40% of their production costs on self-generated power.
Speaking when the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, paid courtesy visits to the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN headquarters in Abuja, the head of the delegation, Alhaji Ibrahim Usman, said the association had a previous meeting with TCN on supporting the priority needs of manufacturers.
We are all aware that as of today, maybe up to 60, maybe 65% of the power being consumed is actually by members of the MAN. All of us here know that some of the companies, industries we have, in particular the steel, pay some of the members here even pay as much as 500 million naira monthly with respect to bills on electricity. In other climes, electricity bill normally would not exceed anything more than 7, 8, 9, maybe 10% maximum. Here, most of us spend as much as 40% of our production cost on electricity. When you spend that kind of money, there is no way your products will be competitive.
He lauded TCN for supporting the association in working towards having improved bulk power supply to manufacturers and industries, especially with the bed of the eligible customer regulation, which will lower their production costs.
We can assure you we are ready and willing to cooperate as long as whatever agreements are reached will be in such a way that it will be win-win. Win-win in the sense that we are happy we get reliable electricity in the right quantity, in the right quality, and at the right price. And at the same time, for you also, we will be ready to pay all the wheeling charges or whatever charges are necessary.
While welcoming the delegation to TCN, the Managing Director, CEO, Mr. Usman Guru Mohammed, said the era of the eligible customer policy that allows bulk power users to buy power directly from generation companies, GENCOs, will boost competition and improve the efficiency in the power sector.
It has the potential of reducing government contingent liability, and also it is the beginning of the willing buyer, willing seller. So, the ultimate objective of the power sector is for us to go to willing buyer, willing seller. So the eligible customer is actually the beginning of the willing buyer, willing seller.
Mr. Mohammed noted that the regulation which was advanced by the Minister of Power Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, in May 2017 will improve quality of power delivered to industries and manufacturers who will subscribe to the policy.
We see the eligible customer as a good thing to help our industries to be competitive, and we see partnership in MAN for us to work together to ensure that the eligible customer declaration by the minister becomes a reality.
The TCN boss announced the success recorded so far in the actualization of the policy after the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission (NEC) unveiled the regulation in late 2017 following the ministerial declaration. He said,
"We are happy to see that 5 are now effective, are being implemented and are receiving electricity through eligible customer, where their power supply is better than the other places. We need to expand it to many other places, especially the manufacturing sector, and that is why we are happy to work with you to see how we can move this forward."
The 132 by 33 kV transmission substation in Kubwa area of the Federal Capital Territory has just been given a profile lift. This has major service delivery impact as the in-house engineers have installed a 60 MVA power transformer to replace a faulty one at the substation. The power wheel crew was at the substation to have a view of the transformer installation exercise handled solely by the TCN engineers.
at the 132-33 kV Kubwa transmission substation, engineers and staff of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, were working hard to install the 60 MVA power transformer, being the second transformer there, so it can provide redundancy to the substation in line with the goals of TCN Transmission Rehabilitation and Expansion Program, TREP. Engineer Musa Shoaib explained the capacity of the substation.
This is our 2 by 60 MVA 132 33 kV substation in Kubwa here. By virtue of this, we are supposed to wheel out our 96 megawatt that will take care of Kubwa, Dede, Buhari, Dam, Dawaki, and NIPP.
Engineer Shoaib said one of the 2 transformers at the substation became faulty in June 2018 and needed to be replaced. He said only 1 transformer was wheeling power through the 6 feeders, but the managing director mandated the transmission service provider TSP section to provide another 60 MVA transformer for the substation. Speaking of the significance of the installation works and how it will boost bulk power delivery to the network of the Abuja Electricity Distribution Company, AEDC, the TCN engineer said,
We are going back to the initial install capacity. What I told you that is 96 megawatts. So when we bring back that, we are going to go back to our 96 megawatts instead of the 48 we are having presently.
Aside the good tidings of boosting bulk power delivery, Engineer Shoaibu felt elated that rather than contractors, TCN has a robust capacity and growing tradition of using its engineers to install transmission power equipment.
When we had that problem, I wasn't happy. Not me, but actually all the technical team, because no maintenance man will be happy to hear that he lost an equipment under him. But now that we are being given the mandate and the encouragement to bring back a faulty one to life, honestly, myself and my team, we are very, very happy.
A complete installation work was ongoing as at when the power wheel crew visited recently.
We are able to couple everything now. Now the protection group, the TCN group, are going to do their wiring. Then after the wiring, we are going to now vacuum, then start filtration, then the pre-commissioning test will come up.
Aminu Abdullahi, another TCN engineer, said it was a good experience for younger engineers.
We are now thankful to the management for giving us this opportunity. And actually, what happened here is an advantage to us and the management, because the management, should the management give it out to contractor, it will spend much. And I'm telling you, what we have here, is just a fraction of what the management will spend in contracting it out.
We're bringing you more reports in the Power Flash segment. Please don't go away.
In the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, we transmit bulk electricity from power generating companies, GenCos, to distribution load centers of various distribution companies, DISCOs. Nationwide, we do not generate electricity, neither do we distribute same directly to electricity consumers. TCN has two business units, the Transmission Service Provider, TSP, and Independent System Operations, ISO. The ISO comprised of System Operation, SO, and Market Operation, MO. The business units all perform specialized functions under the TCN umbrella. Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, wielding power for national economic growth. This message is brought to you by the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN.
The Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, is making huge investments to ensure it improves bulk power delivery in Abuja and its environs. The Transmission Service Provider, TSP, is the section responsible at TCN for executing transmission lines and substation projects that would meet this objective. The head of TSP, Engineer Victor Badebo Adewumi, speaks in this interview about the strategies, achievements, and of course, challenges so far. TCN recently flagged off construction of substations in Abuja. Why is TCN passionate about this?
Abuja being the seat of the federal government of Nigeria, there is need for us to equally have uninterrupted power supply to Abuja. In our bid to do this, that is why we embark on Abuja Ring project. Presently, Abuja is being supplied by two sources. From a 230 kV line coming from Ajaokuta, Lokoja axis, and from Shiroro, Gwagwalada to Kakatampe axis. Now, we are embarking on this Abuja Ring project to bring a third source of supply to Abuja. That is through Lafia to Gwagwalada, to a place we call New Akpo. At New Akpo, we are going to be, it's a 330 kV substation that has capacity of 2 by 150 MVA at 330 kV side and 3 by 60 at 132 33 kV side. Again, we have another 330 kV substation we refer to as West Main. We are going to have another 2 by 150 MVA at 330 kV level and 3 by 60 MVA transformer at 132 33 kV level. These are two number 330 kV substation new coming to Abuja. Again, we are going to have additional 3 132 kV substations, with that Abuja Ring project, namely a 330 kV in a place called Kuje. We have a 2 by 60 MVA transformer there. Another 132 substation at Gwarimpa. Gwarimpa, of course, will be a GIS substation because of space constraint. And of course, lastly, we are going to have another 132 at a place called Lokogoma, another 2 by 60 MVA substation. So with this, Abuja will enjoy very fine quality power supply.
How would TCN projects affect the end users positively when they are completed?
We don't relate with consumers directly, except where we have eligible customers. I know that the minister, introduced late last year. So it is the DISCOs that will be interacting with the customers. So it's still the same thing. Where we have DISCOs, they need to speed up their game to be able to meet up with the demands of the customers. Of course, we are going to put all these substations in place, and we are relying on DISCOs to evacuate supply from those substations to the end users.
TCN has been training its engineers nationwide. What is the objective behind the massive training program?
In TCN, we have a lot of experienced engineers retiring, and we have a lot of young ones that are equally coming up. So training and retraining is a must in TCN. It's a regular thing, because engineering itself is a dynamic profession. In those days, those who study engineering before us, they use for those who study science before us, it was the era of four-figure table, But these days, nobody talk about that anymore. It is computer, calculator. So engineering is dynamic. So things are changing. If you don't train these young engineers, they won't be able to meet up with the current exigencies in the profession. So we are training them, especially our core areas, namely the protection, control, metering department of TCN, the electrical maintenance department of TCN, and the line maintenance department. And of course, on the soft side, when I say soft side, I mean the non-core engineering side, the HR, the F&A department. So all the departments in the TCN, we must train them. Okay. And we believe it's only through training that the engineers will be able to rise up to the challenges we face every day in TCN.
The company recently deployed 3 reactors to Jos, Apiro, and Ikotekpene substations. What are their purposes?
TCN is sandwiched between the distribution sector and the generation sector. We only convey the energy from the power stations to the distribution sector. So anytime you have the generators running and you don't have the DISCOs utilizing the energy, it creates overvoltage, on our transmission lines and substations. So we need reactors to bring down this overvoltage so as not to damage our equipment. Specifically along the Uguaji, Makodi, Jos axis, where we are deploying these 3 reactors you just mentioned. There was a kind of error and by this, on that particular line. It's a very long line, all the way from Uguaji through Api in Makodi to Jos. It's a long transmission line. And during that construction, that line was not transposed as to eliminate in engineering what we call Ferranti effect, which normally give rise to overvoltage along the line for a long transmission line. So we are supposed to transpose that line so that it will eliminate the overvoltage, occasioned by the long length of the line. So we need to do that. So presently we are trying to see how we can create a one-cycle transposition to eliminate that design problem. And because we have overvoltage along that line, so we need to deploy reactors to substations along the line route. Specifically, Jos, we are deploying a 75 ms reactor there. At Api, we are deploying a 75 ms reactor there also.
We're glad you followed through on this edition of Power Wheel. Join us next week on the same station for another edition. This episode and the previous ones are available on our YouTube channel. You can also connect with us on these other platforms showing on your screen. I am Chinwenwa Anyao. See you next time.